printed, and then that becomes part of the, here's how the event went. They don't have to regurgitate.
Such technology.
Good morning and welcome to the October 7th meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We will begin our meeting as is customary with the observance of a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is the part of the meeting where we ask for public comment. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself and where you're from, and then you may proceed.
My name is Martin Barondick. That is spelled B-A-R-O-N-D-I-C-K. I am a lifelong resident of the village of Ebenezer, located in Lebanon County. I said it correctly. Yeah, I got a question, a couple questions. Concerning Magistrate Kim Wolf's office in the village of Ebenezer. My understanding is the county rents this building $1,000 a month.
Think so? Yeah.
Okay. About 2 years ago, this whole property changed hands. Not only the office building, but let's say it's a complex. Right now, the way I understand, the owner lives in Florida.
The principal of the company that owns it, yeah, I think so.
Lives in Florida.
Mhm.
He in turn has a property manager who lives in Siemens Grove.
Right.
Okay. Owner lives 1,000 miles away, property manager lives 70 miles away. My question is, who's responsible for the maintenance on this building?
It depends on what it is, but in terms of, major items, we've been in contact with the property manager that is out of Sealands Grove. So we've been
Okay,
down
you
a
know,
few times.
you have a problem there.
Mhm.
Okay.
We're not sure what it is,
Huh?
but it's a moisture problem, yeah.
Moisture and mold. Yeah, there's mold there. What's being done?
The owner is in contact with a remediation company that we've used here at the county many times. And, I connected them together, so they're going to work something out. I mean, at this point,
Is it safe for them people to be in that building?
I believe so.
I don't. There's mold.
We've added dehumidifiers to it in the last
They're
couple of
jokes.
weeks.
They don't work. The humidifiers isn't working. Right now, the humidity in that building, in that office, is 65%. That's way too high.
You have more information than I do, but I mean.
Well,
but
that stands to reason I have more information than you do, but on this. In a building, right now, I'll bet in it right here, it's probably 50% or lower. And that's what it should be. Now, I've used a dehumidifier in my house for years. My house is 130 years old. It has cellar walls that thick. So after 2011, after Hurricane Lee went through, things changed. So I gotta run a dehumidifier around the clock. Now, I don't have a drain in my cellar. So I've gotta empty that bucket a couple times a day, which I do. This morning, the humidity in my cellar was 45%. That's good. And that's what it is in the whole office. I have gauges on every floor. Last Thursday, I walked into that magistrate office and conducted some business. And as soon as I walked in, it was like I hit a wall of humidity.
Yeah.
It stank. It really, I said to Magistrate Wolf, I said, what's wrong? He said, it stinks. I said, the humidifier, he said, what do you know about the dehumidifiers? I said, evidently more than you do. So he said, come on down the cellar, and we went down. The dehumidifier there, I took the filter out. You couldn't even see through it. It was that bad. I took it over in the truck garage and blew it out to get it clean. Put it back in, it wasn't working. Now I think they're on the second dehumidifier, that is not working. Right now, if you go in that cellar, the humidity is 75%. And you're gonna be hard pressed to ever get it out of there with all that paperwork down there. It's not in them files. I don't think you're gonna get out. You're gonna have to run big dehumidifier. Then on top of that, the water heater leaked, right?
Okay, I didn't know that. I mean.
You didn't.
No.
Aren't you glad I showed up?
Yes.
You see, Jamie, once again, I'm a wealth of knowledge. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable with the things I know.
I can
Wouldn't
tell
a
you.
phone call work?
What do you mean?
If you knew all this, and when you knew it, when did you know all this?
I discovered the humidity last Thursday.
Well, don't you think that this, if it's as serious as you say, certainly timeliness is important. I would have thought that you would have called Jamie right away if you're concerned about the health.
Yeah,
of
but you
those
people already knew it. Why do I have to call when you people already knew it, Ames?
And there
We don't
hasn't-
have your statistics.
Huh?
We don't have your statistics.
Well, maybe you ought to get out there and look around and
I
get the
was out,
statistics.
we were just out.
Yeah,
there.
you were out, and what did you smell? It stank in there.
No, it didn't.
Oh, it didn't.
No.
Thursday yet. When I discovered that, I went right to Lowe's in Palmyra, and I bought him a gauge. It should have been there forever. Shows humidity. It was 65%, and I bet if you go there now, it's 65%. In the cellar, it's probably 80%. I wouldn't have anybody, I wouldn't want to work in there. I'm just saying, who's responsible for the maintenance?
Okay, well, you got the answer.
Huh?
You got the answer.
Okay, but nothing's being done. He lives 1,000 miles away. Property manager, I met the guy, nice guy. So far, nothing's being done. By the way, years ago, I had properties and I rented them. I was responsible for the maintenance on those properties, right? So why is the county people going in and out of there? I see them going in and out of your maintenance man.
Because when we could provide another dehumidifier there, we had one on hand,
Yeah?
we did.
Which-
Whether or not the owner was going to put one in or not, it was an immediate. I sent Joe out there to put a dehumidifier in, Joe Motter, to give you an answer. You probably already know that, sounds like.
Actually,
But,
You
I mean,
said
there
Joe
hasn't, there hasn't been a lack of communication between District Judge Wolf, myself, maintenance, the property manager.
No, wait,
So I don't
repeat that
know,
again, lack of communication.
there hasn't been. I mean, he's, you know, if there's something like that, he's free to call me, he's free
Did you
to,
talk to him this week?
not this week, no.
No, he's in Mexico.
No.
okay.
Mater came on. he
You
put
got
the-
me good,
Huh?
Mark, you got me good. If
No,
that's what
I
you're
know.
out to do,
That
you
was-
got
that
me
was the
good.
goal,
You know,
or
that's
was it to
the
help?
intent.
Huh?
If the goal was to get them good, you did that, but.
Okay, no, wait a minute.
But
You
it's
put
not,
the
we're not
dehumidifier in.
ignorant of the issue. And
Okay, listen.
everything's being done in communication with the owner. And anything we can provide that they're not going, that they haven't been able to do yet through the contractor. You know, we don't have employees, I don't know what, you know, your communication with them is, but I've not had Judge Wolf say, hey, get us out of here, this is.
They're
this
afraid to
is
say
in-"
anything. The secretaries are afraid to say anything. They don't want to jeopardize their job, they don't want to make waves. As you know, I like to make waves. Now, Mater came on, he put the dehumidifier in, but guess what? There was no tube on it.
No, the bucket has to be emptied.
Yeah, that's not, I don't think that's in the secretary's job description to go up and down them steps a couple times a day and empty that bucket.
Her words to me, I'm not gonna use names, but her words to me was, I'm doing that, I do that at home. So they had no problem doing that.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into a lot of minutia here, but the point is, this issue is known, it's being dealt with. I appreciate your data and everything, but this is not a revelation or a surprise that we're ignoring.
That's what we.
When Mater put the dehumidifier in, he didn't put the hose on. You gotta have a hose on for it to run 24/7. He never put the hose on until 2 days
Not
later.
if it
Now the
goes-
bucket's filling up, it has to be emptied and emptied.
Yes.
Said secretary there, that's working by herself this week, loves to wear high heels. I wouldn't wanna be going up and down the steps a couple times a day in high heels. Another thing I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have trouble from now on with that building. Because that whole property, that complex, in the last 2 years, Block Fuel Service owned it right before. They did good maintenance on it. They had the burner men, they had the hydro, everything, and they were right there. Here we got people thousands of miles away. That whole complex it's horrible. I grew up on that property. Now, you go out back to the shop, junk, weeds, it's horrible. They tore the barn down, that stuff's laying around. You see what I'm saying? So you're gonna have trouble with this owner in Florida, because they are known, they buy properties top dollar, and within 2-3 years they're junk. Good example, the old Treadway Quality Inn, look at that, that should be condemned. And did I make my point there? I won't mention no names or ethnicities or, you see what I'm saying? So you're gonna have problems. But anyhow, I wouldn't wanna work in that building right now. I really wouldn't, but so be it, huh? I'm here because they're afraid to say anything. They don't wanna jeopardize their jobs, okay?
That certainly isn't an environment that, Barbara, all right.
As usual, go ahead.
Well, I just to tag on what Mr. Brownick said, does the county, I mean, as somebody who rents this office building, do you have some sort of a inspection protocol where you can put pressure either on the Florida man or the Sealandsburg man to, it doesn't seem like they're moving very expeditiously in fixing the dehumidifier situation.
What's your question again?
Well, is there some, as the lessee of that building, is there some kind of pressure you can put on to get them to expedite these
I
repairs?
suppose so, but at this point, the property manager has been in communication, and has contacted the vendor that we've used for that sort of problem before, so, I'm not.
If it's not communicated to us, like a week ago, if that was known, that would have been helpful to know that instead of.
But sitting here, I don't know that they're not doing something. I
Right.
mean,
Well, Mr. Brownick said the water heater is broken or something, or it's leaking, and, that was not on your radar screen, evidently.
Well, there was 2 inches of water in the furnace room. Now, how are you gonna dry something like that out? But Brian said that they did put a water heater in, so, whatever. I'm just saying, I wouldn't wanna work in that building. I mean, I think it's a health issue. And I might add, the one secretary who's there the longest, in the last 9 months, has had 2 viral infections, so you might have a problem there. That's my, whatever, I tried. And Ames, you said, why didn't I call? Ames, I've been coming to these meetings for years and years and years. I don't think I ever got anything accomplished. One thing I might have got accomplished, stopping the wanton slaughter of beautiful creatures of Governor Dick years ago, and that's about the only thing I could have got accomplished, but that's my, and Laura, I'm glad you're here. You are here. You and I have a history of getting things accomplished in Lytton County, and I'm out of here. Do something about your problem before somebody gets real sick.
Seek approval of the minutes of our previous meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as printed.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as presented. Any deletions or additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered. Move on to our treasurer's report. Mrs. Newman.
Morning. We had receipts on 10, 5, and 6 at $1,500,000. Our total cash is at $5,048,412.56. Our expenditures were $1,063,194.96. So we have a balance of $3,985,217.60.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report, subject to audit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the treasurer's report as presented. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. And we have debt payments to consider. And we'll take them individually.
Okay. First of all, the first one, that I don't know if it's still on your paper or not, but the Wells Fargo loan from 2006 has been paid in full as of April it was paid, so there's nothing for that one. But we had the Wells Fargo 2008 bank loan, which we owe $371,955.10. That needs to be approved.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Wells Fargo debt service payment. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Next, I have the GOB for the obligation bond from Fulton Financial, 2016. That amount is $20,460.
I'll make a motion to approve the $20,460 $460 general obligation bond in Fulton Bank for 2016.
Second.
I think it's 2015.
And that one is 2016.
The correct is 16. Second.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second for payment of that bond. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And next we have a loan for Fulton Bank. And that is $1,073,857.
Make a motion to approve payment of the Fulton Bank loan as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we pay that loan to Fulton Bank. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And we have a 2017 general obligation fund to Fulton Financial, and that's $139,925.
I make a motion to approve the $139,925 loan to the Fulton Bank in 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we pay that debt service payment. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And finally, the 2015A general obligation fund to Fulton Financial is $893,081.25.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the general obligation bond to Fulton Bank for that payment. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
We do have a couple other things here. We have a resolution for changing the signers for the domestic relations accounts to First Citizens Community Bank.
Need a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to approve the change of signers at FCCB Bank.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we change signatories on the domestic relations account. Any comment or question? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Then I also have Jonestown Bank. We are changing the signers for the county's funds and also for Renova.
Make a motion to approve changing signers for Renova account and general account.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we get those signatures up to date. Any comment or question? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sal. Good morning. Introduce yourselves and you may proceed.
Michelle Snavely, Director of Human Resources. Stephanie Nolden, Vice President. Personnel transactions under resignations and terminations. Christine Harris, Adult Abuse Investigator, resignation effective October 14th. Caitlin Clay, Telecommunicator, Department of Emergency Services, resignation effective October 6th. Steve Borman, Assistant District Attorney 1, District Attorney's Office, resignation effective October 11th. David Lesperance, Full-Time Correctional Officer, resignation effective September 19th. Ashley Whitmer, Clerk Typist 2, MHIDEI, resignation effective September 24th. Sandra Dove Mendoza, Full-Time LPN, Nova Center, termination effective September 29th. Trent Colbert, Full-Time Deputy Sheriff, resignation effective October 1st. Shanita Harris, Accounting Clerk C, Treasurer's Office, termination effective October 1st. And Jason Todd, Chief Clerk of Voter Registration, rescind acceptance of employment effective September 17th.
Make a motion to approve the resignations and terminations as presented.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those transactions. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under leaves of absence, Alan Yanks, Building Security, 5-week, all unpaid leave of absence effective November 8th, returning December 13th.
Make a motion to approve the leave of absence as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve that leave. Any question or comment? If not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under changes of status, transfers, and promotions, Sarah Gill, promotion from clerk typist 2 at Area Agency on Aging to fiscal assistant at the rate of $1,011.92 biweekly effective October 18th. Christine Hartman, transfer from deputy of voter registration to social services director at Community Action Partnerships at the rate of $1,793.91 biweekly effective November 15th. Runyon Harrison, transfer from general clerk C at the jail to DJ clerk at MDJ former Pello's office at the rate of $850.29 biweekly effective October 18th. Christine Mundez, change of status from probation aide at probation services to fiscal assistant, no change in her rate effective October 18th. Raymond Heaton, change of status from sergeant in the sheriff's office to full-time deputy sheriff at the rate of $1,325.69 biweekly effective October 18th. Timothy Taraski, promotion from full-time deputy sheriff to sergeant in the sheriff's office at the rate of $1,492.94 biweekly effective October 18th.
So moved to approve the changes of status, transfers, and promotions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those transactions. Any question or comment? If not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under other transactions, buildings and grounds would like to hire James Zombro III as a maintenance mechanic at the rate of $1,215.47 biweekly effective October 11th. District Attorney would like to hire Beatriz Ramos as a part-time booking agent at the rate of $13.23 per hour effective October 11th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Colby Schweitzer as an assistant director of fiscal and domestic relations at the rate of $1,781.60 biweekly effective October 18th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Maria Angelados as a DJ clerk / interpreter for MDJ Dissinger's office at the rate of $801.24 biweekly with $57.69 biweekly interpreter pay effective October 11th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Sarah Knoll as a DJ clerk at MDJ Wolf's office at the rate of $801.24 biweekly effective October 11th. And MHIDEI would like to hire Nikita Ward as a caseworker 1 at the rate of $1,215.09 biweekly effective October 11th.
Make a motion to approve the hirings as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those personnel transactions. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Moving on to salary board, motion to approve all transactions previously read plus the following. Hayden Murphy, incremental increase, full-time correctional officer at the jail to the rate of $17.65 per hour effective October 17th. And the following two incremental increases, full-time correctional officers at the jail, both to the rate of $17.52 per hour, both effective October 17th, and that is Keith Louts and Joshua Lear.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the salary board transactions. Any comment or question regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. Thank you.
Under conference seminar request under mandated, Jason Michael from TDS would like to attend medication for emergency managers in Lancaster, October 25th through October 27th. No registration fee, meal reimbursement, 21 credits mandated by PMA. Constance Dowhauer and Floyd Pember from Probation Services would like to attend MAYSI 2 virtual on October 28th. No registration fee, 3 credits mandated by JCJC. Susan Christner from Probation Services would like to attend Chiefs Council Executive Committee meeting at State College on October 15th. No registration fee, lodging and meal reimbursement, 4 credits mandated by JCJC. And Kirk Giuliani from the Sheriff's Office would like to attend Class Lethal Instructor Recertification in Lancaster on October 14th. $250 registration fee mandated by PCCP.
Make a motion to approve conference and seminar requests.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those mandated requests. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Under non-mandated, Jocelyn Statham from NHIDEI would like to attend Homes Within Reach in Hershey on December 1st through December 3rd, $385 registration fee and mileage reimbursement.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve that MHIDEI request. Questions or comments regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved. Thank you. Resolution, you want to do that later? Is that part of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Holly, would you take a moment to introduce your entourage here, and then you may proceed.
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. My name is Holly Lakey, Administrator for Lebanon County Mental Health, Intellectual Disabilities Early Intervention Program. And I brought some wonderful friends along this morning. I'd like to introduce you.
Yes, I'm Stacy Hanley. I'm the Program Manager at Developmental and Disability Services of Lebanon Valley.
Maureen Westcott, Executive Director, the ARC Lancaster, Lebanon.
I'm Elizabeth Hershey. I'm from Quest, and I am the Quality Assurance Coordinator.
Our staff at MHIDEI works all year long alongside the employment coalition we have here in the county to improve and expand employment for individuals with disabilities in our community. So we have some really great information to share with you this morning. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Stacy to share with you.
Good morning. On behalf of the Work With Us Coalition, we would just like to thank the commissioners for recognizing the value of a diversified workforce in our community by recognizing employment for disabilities. So the Work With Us Coalition is an alliance of individuals, organizations, and employers who believe that all people in Lebanon County have the opportunity for gainful, fair wage employment. And we work together as a group of people during our monthly meetings to accomplish this. So the coalition meets on the third Thursday of every month, and it's made up of all the partners that provide employment services here in the county, as well as our other county partners. With the hiring climate being so strong right now, we as providers have been able to strengthen our connections with employers and are seeing really great partnerships form here in the community, especially with small business employers who are really seeking out employees. So we've really had a great opportunity in this environment to really bring some people on board and get some folks hired. Each year, the Employment Coalition recognizes individuals with an award ceremony. The ceremony just acts to further ensure the community connections for the individuals we support and really helps to build upon the relationships that we have made with local employers. So it's a good thing to get together all around. So thank you.
And are there any events or anything that's happening this month as part of National Disabilities?
Yes, so this month we are hosting our annual awards banquet. Of course, that will be virtual. It will be presented on our Facebook page as well as YouTube. We usually have that banquet in person, but because of the current climate, we've had to do that virtually. So we will still have the opportunity to recognize all of our employment award winners. We just will be doing it in a little bit of a different way this year. That's October 21st, that will be released.
We have a resolution that we'd like to adopt. Jim?
Recognizing and commemorating the 76th anniversary of National Disability Awareness Month. Whereas October 2021 marks the 76th anniversary of National Disability Awareness Month. Whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And whereas the history of National Disability Employment Awareness Month traces back to 1945. Whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities, and affirm Lebanon County's commitment to an inclusive community that increases access and opportunities to all, including individuals with disabilities. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Lebanon recognizes and commemorates the 76th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month and the work of the Lebanon County Employment Coalition to promote employment for people with disabilities, and be it further resolved that the County of Lebanon call upon employers, schools, and other community organizations to advance the important message that people with disabilities add value and talent to our workplaces and communities. And be it further resolved that the County of Lebanon pledges to continue to take steps throughout the year to advance opportunities for individuals with disabilities and work to pursue the goals of opportunity, full participation, economic self-sufficiency, and independent living for people with disabilities.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proclamation as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any question or comment? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you very much.
Morning, George.
Commissioners?
Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
Hello. Saw the rest of your crew this
Did.
morning,
Oh, we're at the convention.
yeah.
John, would you like to introduce yourself and your colleague, and then you may proceed?
Commissioners, I'm John Fiskey with the Lebanon County Planning Department, and with me here is Bill Wilson, who's our county bridge engineer. My purpose for meeting with you this morning is regarding the update and renewal of our National Bridge Inspection Standard Agreement. This is a 5-year agreement. I believe Jamie may have provided you that little brief overview with some background on this. The reason for the NBIS inspection is bridge inspections for structures over 20 plus feet are something that need to be routinely inspected every 2 years. And as part of this agreement that we have in concert with PennDOT is for Bill and his staff to be able to go out and do inspections not only for county-owned structures, but all municipal-owned structures. So as the clients, they would get alert of any kind of issues, structural or otherwise, with their bridges. What we're asking today is for the approval of the renewal of a 5-year contract that will extend from 2022 to 2026. This 5-year agreement will cover all of the routine activities that Bill and his group do, but if, for instance, we would have a special event like an Ivan or a Lee tropical storm, Bill and his team would be responsible for going out and inspecting those structures to make sure that they're safe. And the NBIS program kind of goes back many years to the late 60s to ensure that structures are passable and safe. And that has a lot of implications, on people motoring around the county. And so we're here today to ask you for the authorization to move forward with the renewal of this agreement. This agreement will be in the amount of $1,121,411.31. It would be set to expire 12/31 of '26. Our current agreement right now that we have is $1,116,724.57. And that is set to expire in April of next year. So we have some overlap between these agreements and positions.
Make a motion to approve the bridge agreement for 5 years in the amount of $1,121,411.31 with Wilson Consulting.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the renewal of this contract. And are there any comments or questions regarding the motion? It's 80% reimbursed.
Yes, and I just want to point out that it is a little bit, I'm not sure it's unprecedented, but it doesn't happen everywhere, that we cover the inspections for the municipalities as well through this. And they have no cost for their inspections. Do you know the total number of bridges that you guys inspect for this cost and for this period of time?
Yeah, I think there's close to 92 bridges or so. I have it on the inventory here. It's in the about 90. 3 of those structures are retaining walls here in the city. So there's 13 county bridges, and the remainder are township or city-owned structures. So it's a generous program on behalf of the county to reach out and help locals in this fashion.
And it also helps having them all being done by the same entity and in coordination with John in this office, it helps for planning, because then you have an overview of where all of these bridges are on the inventory and conditions and so on, so that when the MPO and the county wants to plan, you don't have to gather all of that information from different engineers that are doing different inspections, you know, in 25 or 26 municipalities.
And I think one of the things too that, and it's credit to Bill and his staff over the years, we've had a number of projects that, thanks to their level of knowledge and expertise in keeping us in the loop, is that we've had some bridges that we've actually been able to do ahead of schedule and under budget. Two of which that come to mind are Clear Spring Road Bridge that we worked with North Anvil on, which was like a year ahead of schedule. And South Spruce Street was one in Anvil that also was expedited. So I think, you know, Bill and his team are a huge help, I think, when it comes to informing us of how we are going to prioritize.
Those are things rarely heard in this room, ahead of schedule and under budget.
I mean, because a lot of the structures, I think it's important to remember too, is as we have more development around the county, some of the structures that seem, I guess, somewhat inconsequential can become really important, and anything even under the 20 plus rating is something we need to keep aware of, not to mention with the additional structures that we have on the rail trail, Bill and his crew also keeping an eye on this as well. So, but yeah, I think we had a lot of interest in this. There were about 13 firms that actually applied for the statement of interest for this agreement. But I think we've been very pleased, and I certainly want to commend Bill and his team for all the work they've done for us.
I would want to thank you too for the opportunity. It really means a lot to us. And, you know, when we started out in '99, Lebanon County and OVRT, they were two of our first clients. And, that means a lot to us. So we want to go the extra mile for everybody here.
I've been told we're your favorite county.
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody must be leaking from my office then.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, so ordered. Thank you.
Very much appreciate it.
We have the other guys here just trying to dovetail it together.
John Reese.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Bill.
Commissioners.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
Thomas, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Would you introduce yourself and then you may proceed?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Cote, and I'm a board member for Lebanon Valley Rails to Trails, Inc. We're here this morning to get possibly two approvals from you. One would be for the approval to submit a grant application to PennDOT for Lebanon Valley Rails to Trails Project Phase 6C, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment. The other would be if you wish to provide any additional funds to lower the overall cost of the project. We'd like your support for that as well. I don't know, Jamie, if you have the graphics.
Oh, I didn't have them up here. I mean, I can,
No, I
maybe
don't
ought to work on those, just save your hand out.
Okay, I don't know that you need to.
Okay.
Again, the rail trail in the city of Lebanon, when you're going south to north, basically concludes at H.A. Boyd, okay, in the vicinity of H.A. Boyd. A small stub goes out to 422, but now we're looking to advance the rail trail from H.A. Boyd all the way out to the Lebanon Valley Mall. So phase 6A would go through the future John E. Wengert Memorial Park. That's in the vicinity of the Lebanon Catholic former school complex. That goes to 16th Street, that's phase 6A. 6B runs from 16th Street all the way out to 22nd Street. Those two phases of the rail trail are fully funded. We hope to have those two projects bid together as one project early next year. The next in the sequence would be phase 6C. That would be taking the rail trail on the west side of South 22nd Street from Chestnut north to 422. Most complex project we've ever done as a rail trail group and in cooperation with you folks. It's not just a rail trail project, it's a roadway relocation. It's a bridge replacement. It's safety improvements at 2 intersections. It's combining a new bridge with stormwater management work going on in the area. A very complex project that comes in at a cost of about $3.6 million. We're going to be asking PennDOT for some funding to support the project, but we do have prior commitments to go along with Phase 6C, and that's in your handout. You can see we have $1.1 million already from PennDOT. This roadway, South 22nd Street, is a state route, SR 3025, owned by PennDOT, but North Cornwall Township wants to take the roadway back. It's called a turnback. So in association with the turnback, PennDOT often provides funds to support that transition from a state road to a local road, and they've committed in meetings that John was involved in about $1.1 million for the overall work on the relocation, the bridge, and all the things that go along with the turnback of that roadway. You have committed some funds to the project already in lieu of taxes. You're going to be providing some support as we get the right-of-way from the motorcycle club that we need. Some off-site improvements need to be made, and you've been willing to support some of those off-site improvements. LVRT Inc. is going to be putting in about $25,000. So we're building a nice local match. And North Cornwall Township, besides clearing all the right-of-way for Phase 6C, they're putting in an additional $200,000. That happened at their meeting on Tuesday night. And North Cornwall. And I apologize if I confused you at the workshop. This program with PennDOT doesn't require a local match for construction, but the applicant has to pay for all the costs leading up to construction. So the design of this project is well underway. We've cleared the environmental aspects of the project. We're now working on the right-of-way we need for it, but ultimately we need money from PennDOT for construction. So again, we're asking you today for 2 actions. 1, allow John and I to submit the application on your behalf to PennDOT. And then 2, any additional funds you'd want to provide to reduce the overall cost of the project.
And where's this inserted into the schedule? Where did I miss that?
The schedule is Phase 6A and 6B are going to construction next spring, 2022. If we get funding from PennDOT, this would go to construction in 2023 or 2024.
And you need, Jamie, 1 motion or 2?
I would say 2. One to submit the application, but then another would be the funding
Commitment
commitment.
of funds to support the project.
And before you get to that, what we discussed in the workshop last week, you'll recall, is utilizing Act 13 transportation funds. Act 13, for those who are not familiar, was the Marcellus Shale payment to counties in 2 forms. One can be used for environmental projects, park and recreation, and so on. Another can be used for transportation commitments in a county, in all counties. We have a fund that has been accumulating from the Act 13 transportation. It is slightly over $2 million. We initially intended to use some of those funds as a share of the Inwood Bridge replacement that took place over the last couple of years. Fortunately, the way that project unfolded, the state and the feds picked up the whole bill. Had to do with the relocation of the old bridge and so on. A lot of history there, but anyway. So we do have $2 million in Act 13 transportation funds. We would like to use some of that for our own bridge repairs at some point, and potentially a maintenance agreement or a maintenance contract for our 13 bridges, or minus Riley Road, maybe after that was done. But there are no solid commitments on that money right now, just so you're aware. There are no new bridges that are programmed that we've allocated or that we've identified a share of those funds. They have simply been accumulating and can be used at your discretion for transportation projects. So if you make a commitment to this project and for the bridge, that would be the logical place to access funds.
All right, let's take the easy one first. How about the grant application?
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the application for Phase 6C and obtaining funding.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion needed? Martin?
I got a question. Tom, maybe I missed her, but phase 6C, what's the C stand for?
A, B, C, and D, there's 4 phases to phase 6. It runs from H.A. Boyd all the way out behind the mall. Again, phase 6A is through the Johnny Wingert Memorial Park that's going to be built in the coming future. Phase 6B is along Chestnut Street from 16th to 22nd. Phase 6C is South 22nd Street going up to 422. And 6D is through the mall and around the mall to connect to phase 7 that already exists.
Okay, because of the virus, I'm way out of the loop on this anymore. But have you figured out a way to get through the tunnel?
Yes, what we're going to be doing is putting up demand actuated signals just for pedestrians and bicyclists, as now cars are queued up and go through based upon a demand actuated, pavement marking. So we'll do that for the time being.
Next question.
Come on, Marty.
Long Lane North,
Mhm.
what phase is that? Number phase?
That is phase 8.
8.
Everything beyond the existing part of phase 7, which ends at Long Lane, that is now being studied, and we're looking at various alternatives.
From Long Lane North.
From Long Lane North to get to existing phase 9 in Bunker Hill.
Okay, that phase goes from Long Lane all the way to Bunker Hill.
Yep.
Whereabouts at Bunker Hill? Where the trail is already.
Yes, where the trail exists
What's that,
off
Old
of
Jonestown Road?
New Bunker Hill
Yeah,
Road.
whatever, yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. All right, thank you, because
You're welcome.
there've been no meetings, I guess, right?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what that route may look like for phase 8.
That's gonna be the difficult one, right?
That's gonna be challenging.
All right, thanks.
Anything else?
You're welcome, Marty.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. Next, a number.
So what would you like to commit to the bridge portion of it, and to note again, if you, maybe you mentioned this, but whatever you commit is a demonstration of a local commitment to PennDOT, and I don't know if they grade it points-wise, but it's certainly, in Tom, having been a career PennDOT employee, it lends itself to, moving it up the line if there's a show of a lot of local commitment versus just asking for all grant.
No question about it.
And you, during our discussion workshop, which was also open to the public incidentally, you placed a number on that bridge, Tom?
The cost to replace that bridge is around $800,000. That's our engineer's estimate. Bill Wilson, who was here a moment ago, Bill and his staff are doing the engineering for that project, and it's estimated at $800,000.
That's part of 3.6.
That's part of the 3.6, very good.
Based on your estimate of cost for the bridge and recognition of the fact that local funds always influences decisions about funding at the state level, I'll make a motion that from the Marcellus Shale transportation funds, the county puts forth $800,000 towards the project.
Oh my, I wasn't looking to go quite that much. I was looking at a 25% figure, which is the normal federal match if we were going with the federal government.
Federal.
The PennDOT only does 5%, so I'm thinking 20%, 25%, which would be 200,000, would be more in line, so we have money for our local bridges.
Sorry, was that a second?
No,
I'm looking for a
I'm-
second to a motion.
I'm just expressing, I think that's too much. I
Oh,
think we
there's-
would deplete
There's discussion after we get the second, but if you want to skip over that, and are you going to provide a second?
I was looking for him to maybe amend it before I would second it.
No, well, I listened to what was said here, and we're not talking about a match, we're talking about advance funding to influence the decision of the state to fund this project.
And I think it would be received very well.
Northwell Township committed $200,000, Commissioner.
And so we could match that.
Oh, and I've checked, Jamie, you feel this is not a putting a peril to that fund by us, based on what we know in terms of our commitments?
No, as I mentioned, I mean, you know, if, I'm just, hate to just throw numbers, you know, carelessly, but I mean, if we were to do allocate, say, $1 million to a county bridge maintenance project, that would go a long way to doing a lot of improvements and still,
Yeah, this
still have
this has so
so
many
it's not-
pieces to it and ripples.
And one thing I would add, just for the use of the Act 13 money, requires you, I think, in the requirements for to have a plan. And one of the things that is considered is the Transportation Improvement Program, which we have this project slated. And ultimately, the replacement and the improvement of this structure, you know, pending the turn back, would become a municipally owned structure. So it's on a, you know, on a transit route, there's a lot of land development that's happening in the area. So I mean, in many respects, it won't be our bridge, but I think the benefits to the community are gonna be pretty significant.
Just the improvement of that intersection at 22nd and Chestnut, making that one intersection instead of two the way it is. That's
Yeah.
huge.
I'd be remiss if I said it during the workshop, but this is a small section of roadway in North Cornwall Township, but it handles and takes into effect 5% of all the overall accidents in all of North Cornwall Township. When you think about that, that little piece of roadway has 5% of all the accident history in North Cornwall Township, hundreds and hundreds of miles of roadway in that township. And the bridge is a part of that problem. Continuous flooding there, a whole variety of things that make this a project that's worthwhile.
Okay, so there's no second, is that correct?
That's correct. I think that we're cutting short other bridges that need attention in Lebanon County. We need to have that funding available for them. And I want to support this, but at a reasonable amount, which I feel is the 25%.
And Jamie, I'm just gonna ask again, because the comment is that we're maybe foregoing some support for bridges and that need help and so on. We're not doing that. This is not at the expense of other bridge.
We don't have anything programmed right now for those funds.
All right, then I'll second the motion.
All right, if I may speak
Sure.
to the motion. It's been clearly pointed out that this is not just a rail trail project, it's not just a bridge project, it's a public safety project. And if we can, here at the county, commit $800,000, which is a portion of the funds that we have on hand now in that Marcellus Shale Transportation Fund. And if I don't want to say anything that's not correct, Jamie, but we will continue, as far as we know, to receive additional funds in that transportation fund.
Yeah.
So I think it's a safe commitment, and we never know for sure. We could have a bridge fail, or, you know, we could have another flood event or whatever. None of us are able to sit here and predict the future, but I think it's very, very important, based on the information that we have as far as public safety, and a whole myriad of phases or pieces to this project that are going to impact the lives of the folks in Lebanon County. So I feel very comfortable committing those funds.
Yes, Commissioner.
I was probably one of the last people to cross the Inwood Bridge before it was condemned. And I was hauling a trailer full of shingles from the Bordner cabin. And when they told me they were closing it, I was a little bit taken back. And then I saw the photographs that Bill Wilson provided and how rotted the underneath side was. That was unexpected, totally unexpected. That is a county bridge. We were very fortunate that PennDOT heard us, and all of the years of revisions that we had to go through, and took pity on us, really, and covered the full cost. We may not be that fortunate in the future. We have county bridges, they all speak to public safety, every one of them. Because if that bridge fails when someone is crossing it, most likely there will be a death. We need to be prepared. I get lots of inquiries, I say lots, I mean more than from other departments, about bridges. Why is this bridge closed? When is this bridge going to be repaired? You know, I get a lot of questions like that. And I just know that dollars are very scarce, and they might get scarcer because of the economy. I really want to support this project, but if we do a reasonable amount and not throw as much as is being proposed at the situation, I think we can still accomplish it and have more money to address local bridges in other areas.
And I would say from the staff, I mean, certainly, I think I'd be speaking for Tom as well, that, you know, it's certainly the level of, you know, comfort that you guys have. I mean, however, I think Tom knows when these review processes happen, that will be a starting point for discussion. So we don't really know. I mean, Inwood's a good example of an exceptional project where the secretary at the time was actually willing to give us discretionary money. And I think in some cases, for a project like this, our application is an indication of how serious and important this project is. If they look at it favorably, they may come back to Tom and I, to the county and LVRT and say, we want to support that, and what we originally intended North Cornwall and the county to commit may not be kind of like it was with Inwood. We didn't expect it, but because of the quality of the project, they may say, we see how this is gonna benefit. So I think this is what we can provide in a worst case scenario, but I think that's a starting point for the discussion. I more than likely would expect that they will come back to us and say, here's what we commit. Because we do have what I would consider as exceptional PennDOT connects. It meets pretty much every requirement that you could expect. So I think making that kind of motion is not that the county is held to account. We're gonna have those discussions with the department, but I think it indicates to them just how committed, if worst case, we would be separation.
For clarification, suppose we commit for just the 200,000 and the grant application does not fly. Is the state going to come back to us and say, hey, if you agree to give more, then there's a better chance that we can approve this? Does that ever happen?
Well, it could, that would be rare, but I think showing the exceptional support that you would have between you, North Cornwall Township, and LVRT Inc., I think they'd be very pleased to provide additional funds to support the overall project. But it could happen, Commissioner. There could be a negotiation, there's no question, but we don't know that.
And that's one of the
We
things
don't know that.
for the task of the Transportation Alternative Funds, right now, because of the extension of the current federal bill, we have 2 years, so there's $18 million statewide and $18 million. Obviously, a lot of competition, you don't know from year to year who you're up against. So I think,
factor, yes.
yeah, so that's the part of trying to show them what that level of commitment is to a project and how important it is. So that's all we're.
Any appetite to split it?
Let's deal with the motion that we have. How's that? I mean, there's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded.
But once it's voted upon, it can't be brought back up in the meeting.
Put that to Commissioner Ames.
So I'm going to leave my motion stand.
Vote on the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes 2-1. You have your $800,000.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm sorry that I took more than 10 minutes of your time.
No, that's good. It was good work, and thank you for all that you guys do with this rail trail and everything else for Lebanon County.
You're very welcome. We appreciate your ongoing and long-standing support.
And, you know, the PennDOT connection and that relationship is vital to everything that we do get in terms of funding. So we want to make sure they understand that we're committed to being partners in it.
We'll talk to them.
Thank you.
Jamie, thank you.
You're good. Signature-wise, it's all online.
That is correct.
Very good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian's trying to leave that, by the way. Just thought I'd point that out.
You mean what's left of it?
What's left of him?
Brian?
Morning.
I know it may not be required, but would you introduce
Sure.
yourself?
So, my name is Brian Smith, and I have the pleasure to serve over at Lebanon County Christian Ministries.
Okay, then can you just proceed with your...
Yeah, so we are due for our annual Emergency Food Assistance Grant Program agreement. As the food bank here in Lebanon County, that is another process that you've approved in the past. we do handle emergency food distribution. This program is a once-a-week distribution. There's a couple different ways to handle it. It's handled differently across the Commonwealth. We do a prepackaged bag system where individuals can come on a Wednesday between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. It is a federal entitlement program that's passed through the state down to us at the local level, and some of our requirements. One of the requirements is that individuals who access the program must self-declare that they're 130% of the poverty threshold. It appears that is going to be moving in the direction of 150% very shortly, and there's still some push to that move to 180%. We would support that, because we know that 10% of Lebanon County is living in poverty, but another 27% are living in Dallas, the asset limited income constraint. So we definitely want to see us have the availability to serve more individuals. We continue to look at the program and ways to improve it, improve the quality of the product that's going out. We're currently in the process of looking at a healthy pantry initiative and a healthy donation policy that allows us to refuse products that may not be healthy and we struggle to frankly distribute, and we want to make sure we're getting healthy options out there. Last fiscal year, we served 4,368 adults, 3,052 children, and 2,581 individuals that are designated as being 60 or older. Total households served at 4,254. Many times when we look at numbers, we want to show you how many we're serving, and our goal really is that we start to reduce the numbers that we serve through programs like this by sustainability programs. And as we're in the middle of a strategic planning process, sustainability is certainly something that we're focusing on as an organization, and partnerships and collaborations that allow us to enhance long-term sustainability of those that are in the community, better paying jobs, and many other items that go with that, mainly focusing on a relational walk with individuals. This is obviously one portion of the programs that we do. Food in general, just while I'm here, a quick update from last fiscal year. We distributed a total of 366,000 pounds of food, serving 925 different households. The pounds that went to those households out of our pantry was 130,000. It's an average of 141 pounds of grocery order to each one of those families. 2,269 individuals served. Probably the biggest impact that we've had through COVID has been twofold. One is we had a significant reduction in the number of people that were being served in the pantry. It was kind of like a head scratcher, I think, for many folks, but when we talked to people across the Commonwealth and we talked to the Commonwealth themselves, that was a consensus across the entire state, was that 25 to 50% reduction in the amount of food that was leaving pantries. Obviously, the increase in SNAP benefits, maximizing the SNAP benefits, many different other emergency relief programs we think contributed to that. We are seeing a slight uptick in the last couple of weeks as some of those benefits have been eliminated. The other piece that we've seen is a huge increase in the number of free new meals that we've been distributing. Our new meal program has been in the congregate setting, so guests come inside, and the state's food purchase program required that food be served on site, consumed on site, and not taken off site. There's no seconds. During COVID, that transitioned to a takeout environment. It's been extremely costly to us to be able to provide the takeout containers, as they're not approved for state food purchase program dollars. And we saw a significant uptick. So we've been averaging, in the last 2 weeks, about 225 guests in the 1 hour with a free new meal, where pre-COVID in the congregate setting, you're averaging about 100 to 130. Those numbers have been up and down, but it's been very consistent of recent. And my staff know our guests that come, and we've seen some new faces. So we are targeting to get back to the inside environment, hopefully in November. We're just assessing our volunteers' willingness to serve in that capacity, and obviously our guests' comfort with coming in to receive food. So that's just a really short synopsis of on our food side of the house and what we have going on. And happy to entertain any questions. I think you have the agreement. It's a standard agreement from the state for another 5 years, and if that executed, we'll be back in business.
Motion?
Make a motion to approve the agreement with Lebanon County Christian Ministries to serve as our coordinator for the TPAC program. No question.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Thank you. The 4,254 households that are served, does that include outlying pantries like Joy and?
Yeah, so two things there, Commissioner. There's it's important to understand what a food bank is and what a pantry is, and then how the TFAP program kind of fits into that. I'd love to give this analogy. Our food bank is like a bank. When you go to the bank, you can cash a check, deposit a check, get a loan. So our food bank, that's where our big bulk of stuff is. So our food bank is supplied through state food purchase dollars of food, as well as donations, as well as some of this TFAP product. A pantry is like an ATM. Put your MAC card in, you get cash out. It's where the rubber meets the road. So Joy Pantry, Caring Cupboard, there's some other church-based pantries that are out there. Some of those are ones that we support and help serve as a food bank. The TFAP food comes in a separate process. It's entitlement, it's federal program. Those foods then get distributed out to some of those pantries, and when those pantries distribute that food, then they report that back to us.
So those numbers are.
So those numbers are included as TFAP, but they may not reflect equally to what they're maybe doing in their pantry. So it's two different reporting mechanisms that it can turn into a head scratcher.
But you are representing the whole
We are,
county.
absolutely, yep.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I just was curious.
Anything else from anyone else? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. Brian?
Thank you, good to see you.
Good day. Any other triathletes out there?
Dal said he's gonna do the Gretna one with me in May.
Oh, I will too, then, if he's
You
doing
do
it,
it?
if he's doing it.
All right, let's do it.
What does TFAP stand for? Does anybody know?
The Emergency Food Assistance Program.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Is it okay if I stand, or would you prefer me to sit?
Oh, most people say.
Okay.
It's up to you.
There's nothing serious that I'm talking about today. I know
Well,
these are
before you
Yes.
go into the non-serious nature of your visit, would you like to introduce yourself to all of us so we know who we're speaking with?
Absolutely. My name is Deborah Wright. I am the reigning Ms. United World 2022. I just won the national title in Austin, Texas over the Labor Day weekend. I represent Pennsylvania and I live here in London.
Nice. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So happy for you.
It's one of those things you prepare to win, but you never expect to win. So it was a pleasant surprise, and I plan to do wonderful things with my title, and that's why I'm here today, to make those connections. I want to introduce myself and put myself out there because I believe that community service is really important. I have an 11-year-old daughter that I like to show that getting out in your community and giving back is important and should be a part of your life, as well as other youth in our community. I work with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which is based out of Philadelphia. They help children with cancer. We not only fund research, but we also help families with travel expenses, because as you know, when someone has cancer in the family, it's a huge expense to try and get them the treatments that they need. So I work with them and speak on behalf of that organization, but I am open to many different organizations and events in the community, and that's why I'm here today, because I want to introduce myself and put myself out there that I am available. I do work full-time, but I am happy to multitask. Like today, I'm working from home so that I could be here with you all today. So I want to put it out there that I'm available. So I have my information, my contact information in these little goodie bags for you, but know that I am all about community service and giving back and working with great events and organizations that are here in Lebanon
Can
County.
you just give a couple of minutes about how someone gets from Lebanon County to Texas to achieve this? I think that'd be great for people to hear that and
Sure.
just what your connection and longevity with Lebanon.
Sure, absolutely. So I am 44 years old. I am a single mom, and I've been competing since I was in high school. So I've been competing for a couple decades now. When I first started competing, I lived in Maryland, and I did it to fund my college education. I competed through the Miss America system and paid for almost all of my college education. I attended the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And then it's just like any other sport, it just becomes a part of you and in your blood. And
And I use it as my microphone and my outlet to speak out on causes that I feel are important. I know sometimes that pageantry gets a bad rap. You see all the terrible things in the media where, you know, we're not smart or we do silly things. Well, you're gonna have that in any kind of outlet. I like to put us in a good light. I was at the Lebanon County Fair. I got to meet lots of different folks from the area. I got to meet with different you know, leaders in our community, and that's what it's all about. It's making those connections and making Lebanon County, Pennsylvania, United States of America a better place. And I know that's quite a feat for one person, but I think if we all feel that way, we can all, you know, make the world better. I'm actually new to Lebanon County. I just moved here. We built a home over in Creekside, and I love it. My parents love it as well. They're in their 80s, but they are selling their home in York County and moving here to Lebanon as well. So I'm new, and that's why I wanted to come out here and speak to you all and make that connection.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Any actions for us today?
I think so, unless you have a.
Thank you for this. This is a nice bright spot in our
I
meeting.
know, everything is super, super serious, and it's, I guess, kind of nice to have something, you know, not everybody comes in with a sparkly hat.
Well, I hope you make a connection with the tourist bureau.
Yes,
because-
Jennifer and I have already spoken, and I've spoken with the gentleman out here, and he's gonna put me in contact with Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
That's what today is all about. And I would love to have a photo up with you all. If you want me to wait, we can do that. I know they put my phone away.
Oh, you can unlock it on the counter up there.
Okay, so that's, you know, when you have time, I can move.
If you want to wait, it'll probably be another, I would say, 20 minutes until,
Totally fine.
okay, then we'll do it that way, is that okay with you guys?
Okay, fabulous.
Thank
Great
you.
to meet you all. Thank you so much.
Can I just ask, Deborah, the Miss United World pageant,
Yes.
are women competing in that within a certain age range? You mentioned you're 44.
There is 5 categories, so it goes all the way from a junior teen in, you know, her early teens, all the way up to a Mrs. Now, I am a Ms. because I am unattached, non-married, and you can be widowed, divorced, those types of things. So it was age 28 plus. So that was another feather in my cap, because I was competing against young women.
And do you have I know with the pageant system, you have to have like a platform, is Alex's Lemonade Stand?
Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation is my platform.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Very
ma'am.
good.
And there was 4 types of categories, if you'd like to know that as well. There was evening gown, swimsuit, and there was an on-stage question, but we also had private interview with the judges, 5 minutes with the judges. I actually ended up winning interview and winning evening gown, which I'm super proud of interview because, yeah, you can look so beautiful on stage and they love your walk and they love your gown, those types of things. But to win interview is really something that's I'm very, very proud of. So.
Commissioner Ames had a question.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know how great Lebanon County is, but as Mr. Barondak would quickly point out, I wasn't born here, so I'm not really a Lebanon Countian.
Oh,
But I've
okay.
been here for over 40 years.
Oh, your grandfather did.
Yeah, well, I should be. Depends. But I'm really curious how you found out about Lebanon County and the Lebanon Valley and what prompted you to move here.
Well, I guess I have to give that to the gentleman that I am my partner, I guess. He has lived here for 11 years and loved being here, and his children are here, so we came here to be with him, and we love it. I love the farms and the land, and I love that it's not super crowded. I work in Lancaster, and the traffic is just horrendous, so I appreciate not having that here. And everyone is just so kind, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know more people in the area.
Well, that's interesting because I have to give my wife credit for bringing me to Lebanon County. Now, I didn't come from far away, just across the border in Dauphin County.
Okay.
I grew up
Okay.
there and lived there and worked there most of my life, and then I met Mrs. Ames, who was not Mrs. Ames at that time.
Sure, sure.
She said, we're gonna move to Lebanon County, so she's quick to tell me that I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for her.
Amen.
That's okay. I'm not gonna argue with that. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting.
Thank you, you as well.
You don't have to sit out there, you're welcome to sit.
Oh, it's okay, I don't need it.
Now back to the, I won't say mundane, but welcome whoever you are.
Where's your
Is
crown?
this Mr. Mundane?
You should have a crown too.
This is our future triathlete.
He has a crown.
Bob mentioned that he's willing to do anything for approval of the new 911 center, so it means it's
I think Brian's back there shopping right now for me.
All right, we're gonna tie these together. He's got a 911 related, and then we'll just blend right into the parameters ordinance.
Right, introduce yourself.
Morning Commissioners, I'm Bob Dowd, the Director of Emergency Services for Lebanon County. And I'm here this morning asking that the board execute a letter of engagement with FEMA indicating our intent to participate in the statewide next generation 911 call delivery system. To summarize that, it's removing the actual phone lines from an older technology and moving that over to a more modern standard, and the state is taking advantage of the economies of scale to roll this out statewide. This letter of engagement indicates our intent to participate.
Is there a motion to get that on the table for discussion?
I'll make a motion to involve ourselves with a letter of engagement with FEMA to move forward with the 911 center.
I'll second the motion. Question. This, I guess I need reassurance for the public. This is not removing our telecommunicators from Lebanon County. We will still have the same number, possibly more at the new center.
The only thing this has to do with is the actual technical call delivery to our clients, and how when you call 911, the medium that your phone call travels is going to change to a statewide network instead of a Verizon phone network right now. It has nothing to do with staffing or internal operations, it's just attendance.
Thank you.
Yes? Yes, Steve.
Could you, I'm assuming that most, if not all, counties are gonna sign on to this, being a FEMA initiative.
Yes.
It'd be silly not to, I guess. Are there any, so there would probably be disadvantages to not signing on. Are there advantages, physical or otherwise, financial or otherwise, to signing on to it? Are they offering?
The advantage, aside from being able to leverage modern technology, our current method of receiving 911 calls is basically a two-wire phone line, which has its limitations in today's world. So this is a next generation system, so there's some advantages there to allow us to move with technology as we move. Eventually you'll be able to send a video or a picture to a dispatcher. That type of stuff can only happen when we're on this type of network. The disadvantage of not participating would be that we would be responsible for all the costs of continuing to maintain 911 services, which equate to about $8,000 a month for us right now. So the advantage being that the state will then take on that burden.
Very good. Anything else? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
All right, I've asked Bob to stick around a little bit in case we have any questions on the project, but if Jay Wanger and Peter Edelman from Stevenson Lee, Jay from Susquehanna, was here shortly ago.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Jack.
What we have before you today is an ordinance that establishes parameters for borrowing for, among other things, the DES building that we've been designing over the last 2 years and are soon to be opening some bids on in the next month, 6 weeks. So that's been duly advertised. I'll, from there, leave it to you guys.
Let me just get them up to speed on where we are in the introduce.
Sure.
So we've been working on the financing documents. The preliminary official statement, which is the required document to distribute to investors, is nearly finished and will be ready for distribution as soon as we get the final project numbers. We've worked through the rating application. We expect the draft rating report today. We had a call 2 weeks ago, I guess, with Jamie and Bob and Angela. They did an outstanding job answering questions and putting forth the county's financial position, so I thought the call went very well. The next step then is for you to actually finalize the project cost numbers so that we can sell bonds that would meet those project costs. And in order to proceed, the parameters ordinance, which we've done in the past and have discussed before this meeting, is before you today for consideration. I'll let Peter go through the highlights of that.
Yeah, the ordinance will authorize the issuance of the bonds in a maximum principal amount of $60 million to finance the several projects, primarily the new 911 buildings and the acquisition of the radio equipment. As Jay mentioned, this parameters ordinance really just sets forth the maximum amounts. It allows us to move forward with the approval process with the State Department of Community and Economic Development. It's anticipated that your actual loan amount, the actual interest rates that are set forth in here will be much lower than that and will be set once the bonds are priced. RBC Capital Markets and Piper Sandler will be underwriting the bonds on behalf of the county. And once we have the final numbers, we will update the Commonwealth's records so they know exactly how much was issued by the county. But by taking this action today, it will authorize all necessary action to move forward with the bond financing.
But it doesn't obligate you, so if for whatever reason you get some bump here, this doesn't obligate you to issue bonds, it just authorizes us to move forward.
And as was mentioned, the building project is primary to this. The equipment replacement with the radio system is secondary. This also includes the funds for acquisition of the Lebanon City portion of this building, which you have a sales agreement in place now for many months, anticipating settling on that sometime in the beginning of 2022. So those are the primary uses of the funds that are listed in the ordinance.
Seek a motion
Can I ask a couple of questions?
after we have a motion.
Well, I think I'm up to make the motion. I will make a motion to establish the parameters for the bond issue. Although it pains me very much, $60 million, but I recognize the need that we have, so I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion in hopes that there's some clarity and some possibility for an amendment.
Okay, so it's been moved and, I don't know. It's been moved and seconded. Let's then have discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, I was up at 3 o'clock this morning reading through the document to make sure that I knew what I was going to vote on. And I noticed on 2 different occasions that Lancaster was listed as the city as opposed to the county of Lebanon. That's number 1, I think is very important to get corrected.
That was already
That-
addressed.
I'll own up to that. That was my mistake. I had Lancaster in my brain when I was typing, but that has been corrected. And the final version of the ordinance references the city of Lebanon.
That ordinance is supposed to put you to sleep.
You mean the
not keep
county
you
of
awake.
Lebanon?
No, it references the city because the
Yeah, the reference was.
building formerly occupied by the city.
Yeah.
Okay, it has page 1 and page 4, it's mentioned Lancaster too.
Yep.
So
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to. And then the next question, I don't know, I'm not familiar with Seed and Company and the DTC.
Mhm.
Page 8 and possibly B1. Could you explain what that is, please?
Sure. So once upon a time when bonds were issued, they were physical bonds. They literally traded hands, and much like flipping a coupon out of the newspaper, you took your interest payment coupon to the bank to receive your payment. Over time, all that has become centralized, and so DTC stands for Depository Trust Company. It is essentially the clearinghouse for all municipal bonds, and all of those records are now kept electronically, so that if you're, as an investor, you don't really have to worry about where your certificate actually is or where your coupons are. You don't have to worry about losing them. So they're just held by this clearinghouse, which is DTC, for the benefit of all investors. So all of the payments that go from the county to the paying agent then get sent to the DTC, Depository Trust Company, for distribution to the bondholders on all the respective payment dates. So it's just a big clearinghouse for securities.
And the Seed and Company, CEDE?
Yeah, so each of the bonds actually gets registered in their name. They're part of the system that Jay just described, of just, this electronic systems of ownership and transfers, and payment of principal and interest.
And how does Fulton Bank figure into all this?
Fulton Bank has been, and we are contemplating they would be the paying agent, which is the entity that's in charge of keeping the roster of who the bondholders are so that the payments are made appropriately on the payment dates to the bondholders.
And then I guess my final thing is that I found, to me, it was conflicting, and there may be nuances that distinguish each one. But it talked about not just the chair or vice chair signing, and it talked about, or any proper officer. And then it talked about proper officers. But essentially, I guess, I want to make sure, this is a 35-year bond issue. This is going to live on longer than me or any of us that are at the helm now. And I want to make sure it's very clear, at least in my mind to start out, what exactly we're saying here. All three commissioners are elected independently by the constituency, our voters in Lebanon County, and traditionally all three sign when there is an execution. I find it disturbing because one cannot accomplish it alone. I find it disturbing that sometimes the other two commissioners are excluded, and this is the reason why. It's a system of checks and balances, and if some of these things are presented, especially years from now, and the others don't know about it, somebody could sign off. We're talking $60 million of taxpayers' money. I think full accountability should be there, and I think all three signatures should be on all the documents whenever new additional money is taken out to make sure it complies with the reasons the bonds were taken out and things of that nature. And I just needed to, like I say, one place I read it, it sounds like any of us can sign and everyone will be informed, and the next place it doesn't. It's confusing to me, and I'd like some clarification.
Sure, I think I can address that.
Okay.
It's always our intent to be broad in the authorizations in the event that a designated signer is ill or unable to execute documents. So legally, we typically anticipate one commissioner signing the bonds with Jamie as chief clerk attesting. And that's how it's always been for years. That's how other counties do it as well. You certainly have the option as a board to require all three. But legally, under state law and traditionally with your prior financings, it's always just been one commissioner and attested by the chief clerk. So the language you saw is intended, just like I said, we don't want to just say the chairman will sign in the event that he's on vacation or unable to sign for whatever reason. That's why we say the chair or vice chair. And again, the vice chair might not be available, so we just try to provide for all eventualities.
Well, then why isn't there consistency that says, available commissioners? It just doesn't make sense to me why you would have all those conflicting statements. And again, future commissioners are not going to know what all this is about, and I think there needs to be uniformity and clarity and inclusion for the reasons previously stated.
Commissioner Ames says, I have a comment also.
Well, I just, again, for clarification, not one of us is authorized to sign for this unless it has been voted upon by the board.
Right.
So
Today,
it's
In the
board
minutes,
action.
and part of the minutes.
And all the minutes will reflect that it's been a board action.
Future.
I don't know that any future boards have to vote if we've already voted today.
No, but if
That's
you're
correct. There's
saying,
the future boards don't take any action on this
Exactly.
but
project.
you're saying, how would they know how this came about? Well, that's what the minutes would be for.
But
That's the
35 years
history.
from now, people just aren't going to know. They just won't know.
Well, we're only intending to sign the documents for this project, for these bonds. Once closing is completed, that's it. There won't be any other documents to be signed.
Exactly. Except when they go to the bank or actually issue the new bonds. The ones.
For this
that-
series bonds, correct.
Yeah.
But there won't be any future series that are authorized here, it's just for
Right,
this.
but
particular
because there's no
project.
additional votes, somebody could sign that and the others wouldn't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But the obligation would already be in place. No one could borrow additional funds or spend additional funds or anything like that if that's the concern you raise.
My concern is that if we say, okay, we don't want it to reach 60 million and we're gonna spend 35 million, but down the road, somebody says, oh, look, I can just sign here and we can get another, 10 million for something else. It's keeping people accountable, it's being transparent. I think all three should sign.
Once we get to closing, this transaction, as Peter just mentioned, is essentially memorialized and can't be changed. If somebody in the future, this board or future board said we want to borrow an additional 10 million just because you only borrowed 35, you would have to go through this process all over again for the next financing with all of the requisite legal opinions attached to it. So once this financing's done, it will specifically name the projects to be financed and the dollar amounts. So again, if it's next month or next year or 10 years now or 35 years from now, if somebody says, well, I want to add something to the 911 center, or I want to renovate the building that we bought in 2021, that requires a brand new approval process.
Probably at the current rates at that time.
No doubt.
It's not
Okay.
a line of credit.
And state law, Jay's absolutely right, state law is very definitive about that.
And I heard legal, this is the legal way to do it, and I heard this is the way it is done elsewhere. So, anything else for the treasurer to vote?
No.
What you're contemplating today is the ordinance, which all ordinances have all three signatures, so for your action, clear on that. Ordinance is your form of legislation.
I just, one question, gentlemen. Is there a call on these bonds?
There will be, yes.
What-
We're contemplating somewhere between 8 and 10 years. We won't know that until we get into the market, but yes, there will be a call provision.
Okay.
And timing-wise, we're anticipating, again,
Yeah,
bids are gonna be early November sometime on
Yeah.
the building. We're working on pricing for the radio system. So you would then go to, assuming that decisions can be made on those numbers, then what's the timing on the market?
Yeah, so assuming the numbers that come back to you on the project are acceptable to you, and you've had a few days or a week or so to scrub that and, throw out this or add that, we would expect to be in the market by the second week of November, which means closing would occur about the second, or about November 15th. So once you award bids, we want to make sure there's money to pay for invoices related to the projects as quickly as possible.
Well, we knew this day was coming. And as Bill said, it's a big undertaking, and, but it does impact every citizen of our county for the foreseeable and beyond future. So when I liken it to a cost of a school building at 40 million routinely throughout the county that handles 1,500 students, this is 140,000 people benefiting from this upgrade. So when you take that all in, that's, it gets me very, an easy yes for this thing, so. Anyway, yes.
Just one more thing. I fully support the 911 center. I have lobbied for it for literally decades. This particular, it's technicality, I know, but I see room for not being transparent, and that troubles me, and I think it would be a simple thing to just say, available commissioners, as opposed to all that language that's in there, making it difficult. And just because my mother used to say, if your friend jumps off a cliff, are you gonna jump off a cliff? You understand where I'm coming from? It just doesn't make sense.
We're way beyond that old saying. We're following the law. This is the legal way of doing it. Bill, do you have any interest in amending your motion?
No, I think the motion's been made and it's been seconded. I think we've it's been duly discussed and understood for the most part.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 2-1. We are going to the market.
Okay, we'll keep you updated. The market's been steady, so we're expecting a very good reception, and we'll keep the March spots.
I have a procedural question, I guess. So the ordinance passed 2-1, it has all 3 signatures. Will you be signing the ordinance?
Let me think about that a little bit.
Because it passed the board.
Yeah.
That might be confusing to people if it's not by all three, but that's, okay.
Right. All right, thank you. Appreciate your time. Would you have, will get signed in organized?
Should I just leave these with you? Or
Yeah,
or
that's
you
all
could just
right.
mail them back? Everything's tabbed and the yellow stickers are the notes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next, following up on the workshop.
Thanks for your attendance, Deputy Sheriff.
Excuse me, what was Peter's, he didn't introduce himself, Peter?
Edelman.
Peter Edelman?
Edelman.
Thank you.
M-A-N.
He was sort of introduced on his way to his seat, so I didn't redo
Yeah,
that.
sorry about that. Good morning, Derek.
He's from Stevenson Lake.
Yeah.
I'll talk to John. Now, who are these gentlemen? Good morning. It's still morning, that's good. It is. Though we do know you and from whence you've come, could you please introduce yourselves and then you proceed.
Sure, I'm Mike Battistelli, this is Brad Holland with Steve Nicholas, work with the pension assets here. We're here this morning kind of as a follow-up to the work session we attended a couple weeks ago, just to address a couple of minor things, particularly the investment policy statement that the pension board signs off on every year. I don't want to get into all the details necessarily that we've discussed, but we're finding that forward-looking, it might be a little more challenging to get the returns on pension assets. And one thing that we can do that would help us, because we've been up against the asset allocation, particularly for the equities, we've been up against the upper limit. So our recommendation is for the board to consider moving the range from 50 to 60% in equities to 50 to 70%. And that just gives us latitude, when appropriate, to invest a little bit more in stocks. We're not, just so we're clear, we are not recommending that today. Changing the allocation just on the investment policy. Right now, we're very comfortable with where we're at.
Do you want a motion, then we can have discussion?
I'll make a motion, but I'm not in favor of increasing the limit.
All right, I'll second that. That is a motion. I'll second
With
the
an
motion
opinion.
to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, and I'd like to ask if Controller Metley or Treasurer have any, we've discussed this already thoroughly, but if there are any opinions or comments from our officers.
I think it's appropriate, as I said at the workshop, I think based on the way the market conditions are now, to give them the allowance to do that, so they're not pressed up against the, policies.
Based on history and our relationship with Stiefel, I feel comfortable to move the parameters with the understanding that you gentlemen or your representatives would be sharing, as you always do. This is where we're intending to make the move, and we could express our comfort level with that, and I'm sure that would be considered. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, This is not
It's about
opening it up
trust.
for,
It's
going for
another-
home runs.
Another
and
trust
things.
issue.
We still want the singles and doubles and, you know, the more conservative approach, so, yeah.
Absolutely, the pension plan has always been built on being a little defensive
Yep.
and protective. I think over the years we've done that for you, and this certainly wouldn't change that. It just, I think if you remember the last several quarters that we've come in, the equities have grown, and we had to trim them back. We've gotten a little bit more return overall out of the pension if we would have just kind of been able to keep it going that way, probably. As we sit here today, we had a kind of a challenging September. October's been more volatile, so we're not recommending any current application changes. It's just for the future, if we get into that environment again, we don't have to be so quick to trim back. If that makes sense.
And I totally respect the two of you, but I respectfully disagree on this issue. We have experienced the stock market crash, and historically, that is something we can't forget. And I've always tried to be conservative with the dollar and be a fiscal watchdog of the dollars. And I would hate to lose all of that pension money. So I have a real hard time raising that. I think that when it was set up, that our founding members of the pension board did a really good job. And this particular one, I don't really want to deviate from that. To me, it's almost like changing the Constitution or something. It's something that we've always honored, and I'd like to keep it there.
Anyone else have any comment or question regarding the motion? So,
I just know I have the confidence that they will use it the way it needs to be used. I got the market.
Is this being done in response to something? I think Controller Metley said 1 or 2 meetings ago that we have more retirees drawing from the system than we have paying in. Is this what you're?
No, it's not.
Unrelated.
Okay, it's not.
No, it's
Okay.
just to take advantage of market conditions that we've been seeping over the top end of that for the equities. And we want to make it, you know, if that opportunity comes along, that we can accommodate that. It's basically nothing to do with the more being paid out than coming in.
Okay.
No, this
Okay.
is just to maximize opportunities.
I just wondered.
Yep. Anything else? Okay, if not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no, I'm sorry.
No, wait. 4
to 1 vote, so it passes, and you have your new numbers.
There's a second item here that's going to address that.
So the other thing that we mentioned about, and again, for the purpose of trying to protect and be defensive, we talked about diversifying a little bit further in the last work session. And what I mean by diversifying a little bit further is we have the majority of our fixed income assets, our bonds, are held with one manager right now. And because of the growth that the pension has experienced over the last number of years, over the last decade, quite frankly, we want to try to further diversify that a little bit more. So what I mean by that is adding Madison Active Intermediate Fixed Income, which is another bond manager. They will complement the current bond manager that we have right now. And again, kind of with the prior conversation, it's a way of trying to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more conservative. So what we'd like to propose is utilizing Madison as a new bond manager in addition to the current one that we use. And we'd like to take $2.5 million from C.S. McKee, which is a current bond manager, and move that to Madison with the anticipation of Madison. We probably would be adding to that in the future as the pension fund continues to grow. And again, that's for the purpose of just better diversification. I'm sorry.
It's about 10% of what McKee now has.
Less than that, about 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 5 to 7, something like that.
Wow.
I don't believe action is necessary on this. You manage the managers, so to speak. Is that accurate?
In the past, whenever you've had introduced a new manager, made a manager change, you have really on it.
Okay, because moving then within, I mean, if you decide there's
Right.
another 5% that goes to them, that's not something the board necessarily moves. So,
And again,
okay.
any changes, any movement of money, any allocation changes, we always bring that to the board before we react on that.
We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to ask an additional manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we add Madison as our manager. Any question or comment? If not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. We good?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I've got, a line here about roughly to present. The first is a resolution authorizing the filing of a formal application for a redevelopment assistance capital program grant, which is also known as a RACP grant, from the Commonwealth for $500,000 for the purpose of advancing the development of the WellSpan Health and Surgery Center project in North Cornwall Township. We have now 4 or 5 times, I'm going to say, served as the applicant and passed through for a number of these redevelopment assistance capital program grants, probably 2 or 3 of them with WellSpan. This is no different than that. It requires on our part just a few approvals like this, getting some documentation through to them, opinion of council and so on. But WellSpan does all of the legwork and accounting.
And pay,
Yeah.
if they need to pay.
It doesn't affect our bond
No.
ratings or anything.
No, it's not a borrowing, it's a grant.
I'll make a motion for a support of resolution 10/7/2021A for WellSpan to acquire $500,000 for a surgery center.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any question or comment? If not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay, next I have a purchase of service agreement regarding the election office. This is between the county and Patricia Nace of Grayson View Court, Selinsgrove, to provide as-needed services to the election office. Mrs. Nace is a retired director from Snyder County, retired in 2019. She assisted Northumberland County with some consulting in their office when they were replacing their director or their chief clerk of elections, and she did the same in Snyder County. And both of the directors there were trained and sort of given their wings, and she hasn't needed to go back. She does have an existing contract still with Northumberland, but they've not asked her for any utilization of that recently. So I learned of Mrs. Nace through one of the Snyder County Commissioners a few weeks ago, had a conversation with her. She is willing to help us, and essentially between now and election, as I have phrased it a few times, to keep the plates spinning. We are still in the process of interviewing and looking for a new hire there. As you know, Mike Anderson, being just down the hall, has been willing to assist to his best ability. However, he's the department head of domestic relations, so that doesn't give him a whole lot of extra time. So I would ask for you to approve this contract with Patricia Nace. It is for $60 per hour of help and plus mileage to and from Selinsgrove.
I'm willing to make that motion, Jamie, if you promise me that we won't get our quit notice tomorrow morning.
Yeah, try not to offend this one, Jamie.
Right, am I driving them all out?
I make a motion that we hire Miss Nace, is it?
Yeah, Mrs. Nace.
At the rate of $60 an hour to make sure we have an election in November.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
I have disabled veteran exemption requests from real estate property taxes. Brian White of Wits End Lane, Jonestown. Christopher Porter of Lambs Lane, Jonestown. Lucille Conahan of Route 72, Jonestown. And Ronald Winters of Meadow Lane, Myerstown.
I'll make a motion to approve the veterans real estate tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay, I have an application for hotel tax grant funding from Lebanon Valley Rails to Trails. John Willard has submitted this application. This is for additional mowing equipment to maintain the trail, which, as you know, has a very high user count from both in and out of the county users. And what there already is a large farm tractor with a mower attachment. This would give them more, this would be for an additional attachment that would give them more capability. It is specific to the existing equipment they had, so they did have to shop for a specific brand and model. They did some shopping around, ended up with Plaster Equipment offering to sell it at cost, at their cost, and also to provide the installation at their facility at no cost.
What is the retail on this?
Well, the $15,878 is the cost of the piece of equipment. Minus, that's without install, that's just the boom and rotary blade attachment, the quick hitch for an additional head, jack stand for the flail axe when it's in storage, and freight of $700.
Wasn't the initial estimate like 60,000 when they first put it out to bid, or?
They were higher, it wasn't that high.
It wasn't that high.
It was still somewhere under 20,000. They had two other vendors who deal with this brand of equipment that had given them some numbers. So, they are asking for a grant of $14,000 to purchase this rotary mower. And it will be, and again, interchangeable with the existing flail mower attachment. They're asking for you, they understand that the maximum grant for these is typically $10,000. They're asking you to waive that for this particular grant. And they are contributing $1,878.60 toward the purchase, and will continue to provide the volunteer labor to operate the mower on the maintenance of the trail. So, as you know, they have a team of help that maintains the mile 15, maybe 17 miles at this point of mowing and tree removal and debris removal and everything that goes
Do a
along
slow
with it.
job.
It's an enormous amount of work.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a $14,000 funding request from the hotel tax grant to Lebanon Valley Rails to Trails to purchase a new mower.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we make that allocation to LVRT. Any question or comment? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
And lastly, I have a request for a proclamation. I believe this filtered through Commissioner Ames for the naming of John Stephen Krinn Day on October 13th. And John was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and I had a chance to look over the whole story there from 1971, and October 13th was that fortunate date for that aircraft crash. Just in remembrance.
I'll make a motion that we adopt that proclamation in this man's honor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we proclaim October 13th as John Stephen Krinn Day. Any question or comment? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And you have assessment appeals at 1:30.